You're standing at the shelf, 200 boxes. Your eyes dart around. Your finger trembles over a package. Your mouth is dry, as if you've swallowed dust. Your pulse throbs in your temples. You're not choosing breakfast. You're undergoing an ordeal. Each box is a promise of a better life. Less sugar means more discipline. Organic means a cleaner conscience. Superfoods mean a longer life. You compare. You reread. You put it back. You return. Your hand doesn't reach out. Your brain is frozen. This isn't freedom, it's a trap. Is more always better? No. Imagine 6 boxes. Only 6. You're already at the checkout. A box in your hand. No doubts. No sweat on your brow. Sounds crazy? But it's not a theory. It's an experiment. California. 2 tables with jam. One has 6 varieties, the other 24. Who bought more often? Not those with more choices, but those with almost none. 6 times more often. Your brain isn't designed to make 24 decisions in a minute. It gives up, preferring hunger to making a mistake. Does this sound familiar? When you scroll through profiles on Tinder, hundreds of faces, hundreds of bios, and not a single one seems the one. Because the next swipe might be better. You cancel a date, not out of fear, but because of the illusion. Somewhere out there is the perfect match. You pass up good for the sake of perfect. This isn't choice, it's a loop. Do you feel it? A heaviness in your chest, as if every click is fateful. Over 75% of Americans lose sleep over choosing health insurance. Not because of illness, but because of the form. Because of the fear of choosing the wrong one. The system doesn't let you decide, it forces you to fear the decision. Marketing has turned choice into a test of adequacy, not an act of freedom. But here's a mini conclusion. You're not broken. You've been broken by a machine that sells more as better. And here's where it gets interesting. True freedom isn't in quantity, but in the resolve to say, this is enough. You can do it. Right now. Close your eyes. Imagine the shelf. Remove 194 boxes. Leave 6. Or even 3. Do you feel the relief? That's the way out. Not an escape, but a conscious enough. Because you don't have to optimize every breakfast, every profile, every day. You have a right to enough. He wakes up at 7 a.m., not to an alarm, but to anxiety. He still hasn't bought a smartphone. It's been 3 days. The screen glows in the dark. His fingers scroll through reviews. His eyes scan an Excel spreadsheet, green, yellow, red. He knows everything except what to choose. Camera, battery, updates. He doesn't just want a phone. He wants the right phone. The one after which he won't have to think, what if the other one was better? But the more he compares, the further his certainty recedes. In the end, he buys one. A week later, he catches himself thinking, the Pixel captures faces more accurately. There's no joy, only exhaustion, deep as after a marathon. His brain is an overheated processor. The part that decides is burned out. Do Do you feel this? When you're choosing not a phone, but a TV series, and you spend 18 hours a year scrolling through Netflix. 18 hours, that's 2 full workdays. Not watching, but choosing. Agony in front of the screen. Clicking forward, clicking back. The feeling that nothing is quite right. Imagine you're choosing insurance. Not a TV series, not cereal, but your protection. Yet before you are hundreds of plans, fine print, unfamiliar words. Co-payment. Out-of-pocket maximum. You're not an economist, you're a person. And your heart beats faster. Your palms sweat. Your stress level is like before a high dive. Over 75% of Americans go through this as torture. Not because they're stupid, but because the system has turned a life-altering decision into a quest without clues. As if you've been sent to choose a screw for an airplane, without instructions. But why does one person leave the aisle in 30 seconds, calm, while another leaves after half an hour, angry and empty? It's not about character, but strategy. There are 2 types, maximizers, who seek the absolute best of everything, and satisficers, who look for good enough. The former checks everything. The latter stops as soon as they find something that works. And guess what? Satisficers are generally happier with life, less anxious, and have fewer regrets. Not because they have fewer options, but because they don't waste energy chasing the illusion of perfection. Your brain isn't broken, it's overloaded. And it's not your fault. It's a trap, disguised as freedom. But you can get out, not by running away, but by choosing and stopping. Right here, right now. Because enough isn't a compromise, it's liberation. They walk through Brooklyn, hungry and tired. One sees a sign, Travata. Warm light in the window. The aroma of garlic at the door. He goes in, sits down, orders pasta, carbonara. He eats, smiles, fingers oily, bread crusty, wine warm. He is fully present. The second looks at his phone. He sees 3 more places. 5 stars, but a 20-minute walk. New from the chef, but 0 reviews. His favorite tie, but a queue outside. He hesitates, returns to the first option, sits at the neighboring table. He eats the same pasta, but doesn't taste it. He thinks, what if it was better there? His fork moves, his eyes are on his phone, his stomach is empty, not from lack of food, but from lack of meaning. Do you recognize one of them? Perhaps both? A maximizer doesn't choose, he hunts. For the best, for the ideal, for what doesn't exist. He believes that if he sifts through everything, he'll find perfection. He scrolls, compares, returns. His choice isn't a decision. It's a loop. A satisficer isn't lazy. He stops as soon as he finds good enough. He doesn't lose. He leaves the game while you're still in it. Does this sound familiar? When you buy headphones, and a week later, you read a review of a slightly more expensive pair, and think, those are the real ones. Even though yours sound great, you just can't stop Because the system teaches the best is your right. But the truth is, the best is the enemy of the good. Studies show that maximizers wake up with anxiety more often, are less happy with their salaries, and sleep worse. Even on vacation, they wonder if they missed a better beach. Satisficers don't. They're not dumber or lazier. They simply know that the world won't end if they don't choose the perfect option. And more often than not, what they have is enough. But culture says the opposite. Don't. Settle for less, screams advertising. You deserve the best, whispers Instagram. The maximizer is a hero. The satisficer is a weakling. But this is a lie, cloaked in motivation. In reality, it's a trap. Because the more you believe you must choose the ideal, the further you get from joy. Look at your hands. Are they trembling with fatigue? From choice? You're not broken. You've just been playing by someone else's rules. So who are you, a maximizer or a satisficer? Don't answer aloud. Just recall your last choice and how you felt afterward. Pain or peace? Here's a micro conclusion. Freedom isn't about choosing everything. It's about choosing and letting go. The 1950s. A screen flickers, a bright pink kitchen, a woman in a floral dress. Before her are 3 boxes of laundry detergent. Choose! A voice booms. Your choice is your freedom. She smiles, as if she's deciding not about stains, but about the future. Since then, choice has ceased to be a way to buy something. It has become a test, a measure of your will, your worth, your ability to keep everything under control. Marketing has ingrained this into the DNA of culture. It doesn't just sell products, it sells anxiety. And you pay for it twice, with your wallet and your nervous system. Do you feel it? When you stand at the shampoo aisle, for volume, for shine, for damaged hair. The labels scream, the colors glitter. But here's the shock. 80% of these new products are old formulas in new packaging. The same basic composition, just divided into 10 roles, like actors in a theater of variety. You are the spectator, and they are performing a play where every option seems unique. But it's an illusion. Artificially inflated diversity, so you think I'm choosing, when in reality you're just sifting through the same water in 10 bottles. Every time you hesitate between moisturizing and restorative, you're participating in this spectacle. Your fingers tremble. Your palms sweat. Your heart races. And all the while, lab technicians in white coats smile, because the longer you choose, the higher the chance you'll buy. Even if it's not what you need, but what promises relief from the agony of choice. Marketing doesn't create needs, it creates the illusion that you have power. And you believe it, because refusing to choose means admitting you're not in control of your life. And that's scarier than overpaying for yogurt with exotic mango. Imagine you're in a store. Before you are 20 varieties of oatmeal. One is for energy, another for slimness. a third with adaptogens. You read the ingredients, and suddenly you notice they all have the same first ingredient: oats. The rest is noise. But you still compare, because the system teaches if you don't choose perfectly, you lose. And now you're no longer buying breakfast. You're defending yourself against future regret. Against the thought, what if another one would have been better? But it's not your fault. You've been programmed since childhood, through advertising, through school, through TV shows, where the hero always chooses correctly and gets everything. But you don't. Because in reality, choice doesn't lead to happiness. It leads to fatigue, to doubt, to the feeling that you're not smart enough to navigate this labyrinth. But the truth is simpler. The labyrinth wasn't built for you. It was built against you. Look here. Remember this moment. Freedom isn't in the number of options, but in the right to say, this is enough for me. Even if the world screams, you deserve more, especially if it screams, because the one who screams profits from your fear of making a mistake. And you can leave the theater. Just close your eyes and choose the first thing that fits. Not the perfect one, just good enough. And feel how your shoulders drop, how your breathing evens out, how the world becomes quieter. Here's a micro conclusion. Abundance is not a blessing. It's a lure. And true freedom begins where choice ends. She walks through the gift shop, hands empty, heart heavy. She wants to please. She wants her sister to gasp, to say, "You understood me." But the shelves scream with different voices. A mug with a cat, a lavender candle, a bracelet engraved, "Sisters Forever." Each item mirrors her doubts. She picks up, puts down, picks up again. Her fingers are cold, palms damp. In her head, not thoughts, but an echo. What if it's not right? She buys an expensive set and leaves. But there's no joy, only anxiety, as if she cheated, as if she lost. Then she learns those who chose from 5 options smiled 30% more often when leaving the store. Not because the gift was better, but because they didn't have time to imagine 100 what-ifs. Their brains weren't chasing the shadow of an ideal. They simply said, "This is good," and stopped. Do you feel this? When you choose a gift, a dress, a vacation, even coffee in a new place, you're not choosing, you're preventing regret, even before you've made the choice. This is called pre-purchase regret. Your brain already mourns the options you haven't even rejected. You just didn't get to consider them. It constructs scenarios. If I had taken that one, she would have cried with happiness. If I had chosen the other, we'd still be together. And the more options, the more such scenarios. The louder the internal lament. You're not living in the moment. You're grieving lost opportunities. And here's the paradox. The more choices, the worse you feel. Even if you bought the perfect item, even if everyone praises your choice, because ghosts remain in your head, the ones you didn't pick. Research is clear. A person who chose one of three options feels satisfaction. One who chose from 20 feels doubt, even if both bought the same thing. Why? Because the brain doesn't count quality, it counts missed chances. And every missed option is like a small loss. You don't enjoy the gift, you mourn the ones left on the shelf. Does this feeling sound familiar? When you hold a new book, but think about the one in your online cart. When you kiss your partner, but remember how the one you didn't invite to a second date laughed. This isn't greed. This isn't ingratitude. It's a consequence of a system that taught you happiness is in the next option. But the truth is different. Happiness is in the resolve to close the list. And here's where it gets interesting. True hope isn't in more choice, but in less. In allowing yourself to say, I won't look at the others, and not feeling guilty. Because you're not losing opportunities, you're reclaiming your peace of mind. Remember this moment. Freedom isn't about seeing everything. It's about stopping looking and starting living. Imagine Dreyer's Supermarket in Menlo Park, 2000. The air is thick with the scent of ripe raspberries and vanilla. At the entrance, 2 stations. One has 6 jars of jam. The other has 24. Labels gleam. Spoons are clean. Shoppers' fingers leave greasy smudges on the glass. Eyes dart around. Smiles are strained. Someone tries raspberry with basil. Someone else, peach with black pepper. Everyone thinks, I'll find the perfect one now. But when it's time to pay, most just leave, empty-handed, full of doubt. Do you feel this? When you sample but don't buy, not because you didn't like it, but because you can't decide. Behind a column, 2 scientists observe, Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper. They're not selling jam. They're catching your brain in the act of choosing. And here's what they see. At the station, with 24 varieties, 60% of passers-by stop. But only 3% buy. At the station with 6, 10% stop. And 30% buy. 10 times more. Why? Because your brain isn't a supercomputer. It's human. And when faced with more than 8 options, the part of the brain that makes decisions overheats, like a processor under load. It can't compare all the tastes, all the promises, all the what-ifs. And instead of choosing, it chooses flight. Even if you do buy a jar, you're not happy. You think, what if the one with ginger was better? Does this feeling sound familiar? When a decision is made but there's no peace, here's the poison. Abundance doesn't make you happier. It makes you guilty for not choosing the perfect one. But there is no perfect one. There's only an illusion that marketing built out of 24 jars. And this effect didn't stay in the supermarket. It migrated to your phones, to Tinder, to Netflix, to app stores. Algorithms feed you one more option, one more profile, one more series. Not so you'll choose, but so you'll keep scrolling, like a gambler at a slot machine, hoping the next click is the one. But the more you scroll, the further satisfaction recedes, and exhaustion draws closer. Today, people pay billions for others to choose for them. Curators, subscriptions, recommendations, because freedom of choice has become too heavy. The irony? You pay to regain your peace of mind. Look here. Remember this moment. Science has proven it's not your weakness. It's a trap. And you can get out. Just close the list. Stop at the first thing that fits. And allow yourself to be content. Not perfect. Content. New York, 8 p.m. Alex sits on the couch. Outside, the hum of taxis, a siren, life. Inside, only the click of a finger on glass. He'd already arranged a 9 o'clock meeting. But his finger disobeys. It scrolls, again, a face, a smile. Loves jazz and long walks in Central Park. Almost like his ideal. His heart pounds. His palms are damp. He texts, "Sorry, something urgent came up." Sends. Closes the app. Opens it 10 seconds later. And again, swipe. 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 Not because he doesn't want love, but because he's afraid. What if the next one is the real one? Do you feel this? When you cancel, not out of fear of intimacy, but because of the illusion that something better lies ahead. Algorithms don't expand choice, they control it. They don't show you the world, they keep you in a loop. Each new profile isn't an opportunity. It's bait to make you scroll longer, to keep your attention. It's profitable for businesses if you don't stop, because stopping means no more data, no more clicks, no more profit. A/B tests are clear. If you show only 5 profiles a day, dates happen 40% more often. But platforms don't do that. Why? If your anxiety is their revenue, you're not choosing a partner, you're feeding a machine. Here's a statistic that gives chills. Those who scroll more than 10 profiles at a time cancel dates 2.5 times more often. Why? Because the brain stops seeing people. It sees parameters. Height, photo, hobbies. Everything turns into a spreadsheet. Love becomes a metric, a person, a variable. After 12 profiles, you no longer think, "I like him." You think, "He's 5% better than the last one." This isn't a search for connection. It's optimization. Cold. Soulless. You don't fall in love, you compare. And you always lose because the ideal doesn't exist. It's generated in real time, specifically to keep you from leaving. But the market is already whispering the answer because the pain has grown loud. More and more people pay for others to choose for them. Dinner, a book, a sweater, even a partner. Not out of laziness, but out of exhaustion, out of a thirst for peace. In 2022, 68% of millennials said, "It's better to pay than to choose." This isn't capitulation. It's a rebellion. Quiet, but real. Freedom is no longer in quantity. It's in trust. In the right to say, "Enough. I choose and I let go." Look at your hands. Still scrolling? Stop. right now. Close the app. Choose the one who has already texted. The one who is already near. Not the ideal one, the real one. Because beyond endless scrolling, there is no happiness. There is emptiness. And an algorithm that laughs. Sarah used to spend Sundays captive to her screen. Her fingers scrolled through hundreds of recipes. Her eyes darted between 3 delivery services. What if it's fresher there? What if this zucchini isn't organic? Every dinner started as a quest and ended in exhaustion. Until one day, she subscribed to a weekly meal kit. Not out of despair, but out of revelation. Now, on Mondays, a box arrives at her door. Inside, exactly what's needed. Ingredients, a timed recipe, even a playlist via QR code. No decisions, just chopping, a pan, the smell of garlic. And for the first time in years, relief. Physical relief. Her shoulders drop. Her breathing deepens. Do you feel it? When you stop choosing and suddenly become alive. Why do more and more people pay for others to decide for them? Because the brain isn't a server, it's human. And after 5 to 7 complex decisions, the part that chooses gets exhausted. When you're given 3 options, you don't compare, you trust. And trust brings peace. Research is clear. Those who choose from 3 to 5 options are 30% more likely to be satisfied. Not because the food tastes better, but because they're not thinking about what they missed. They just eat. Do you remember the last time you just ate without thoughts of, maybe it's better over there? But this isn't surrender. It's not weakness. It's a redefinition of freedom. True control isn't in seeing all the doors. It's in closing those that lead nowhere. When you pay for curation, you don't lose freedom. You concentrate it. You say, I don't want to spend energy on cereal. I want it on a conversation with my son, or on silence, or on sleep. And in this lies a deep irony. To gain freedom, sometimes you have to give up choice. As Fromm wrote, freedom from must become freedom for. Otherwise, it is empty. You're not running from life, you're reclaiming your right to live. Does this sound familiar? When you choose not what you love, but what won't make you regret it later. But now you have the key. Paying for the absence of choice is not shameful, it's wisdom, because you're not buying a box of vegetables. You're buying an evening without anxiety, and that's the most honest investment in yourself. Look here. Remember this moment. Freedom isn't in the number of doors. It's in the courage to close the unnecessary ones and be alone with what truly matters. Your brain isn't broken. It just wasn't designed for this. It grew up in a world where there were 3 options: fight, flight, or freeze. Not 333 models of headphones. Culture has instilled in you, the more you choose, the more perfect you are. Jefferson wrote about the pursuit of happiness, and marketing has turned it into a marathon through a labyrinth of mirrors. And your character, maximizer or satisficer, determines how deeply you get stuck. 61% of Americans chase the ideal, and they pay for it with burnout, insomnia, and an emptiness in their chest after every decision. 3 forces, brain, culture, personality, have woven themselves into a trap where freedom has become a duty and choice a test of endurance. But there is a way out. It's not in more control. It's in consciously letting go of it. Remember the person who couldn't buy a smartphone for 3 days? He's back in the store, but he's different now. He's not scrolling through spreadsheets. He's not comparing pixels. He set 3 conditions beforehand: camera, battery, price. No more. No, maybe something else. Just 3. His finger doesn't tremble. His eyes don't dart. He sees a phone. It fits. He takes it, pays, leaves. And on his face isn't a strained mask, but a genuine smile. Not because it's the best phone on earth, but because he stopped looking for the best. He found good enough. And in that is his victory. His brain finally exhales. Do you feel it? How your shoulders drop. How your chest feels spacious. As if a bulletproof vest you'd forgotten about has been removed. Here's where it gets interesting. True freedom isn't in choosing from 100. It's in the right not to choose at all. In the right to say, this is enough for me. In the right to close the tab with reviews. To turn off notifications from dating apps. To leave only what's needed in the cart. Because happiness doesn't live in comparison. It grows in acceptance. And when you stop chasing the best, you suddenly see enough is already here. Maybe in a jar of raspberry jam. Maybe in the person waiting for you tonight. Not perfect, but real. Perfection is smoke. Satisfaction is a skill. And it can be learned. Just stop. Right now. And now, it's your turn. Are you a maximizer? The one who checks every star, every comment, every but, until your brain is burned out? Or a satisficer? The one who finds good enough and goes to drink coffee while you're still comparing? Write in the comments, I choose everything, or 1 is enough for me. And know, whatever answer you write, it's already good enough. Because awareness is the first step, and freedom begins not with choice, but with the decision to stop choosing.